Last night I had a dream about another guy. Nothing particularly scandalous happened, but I felt guilty, so I told my boyfriend about it. It upset him quite a bit. Is he overreacting, or is it better to not tell your partner about a dream involving another guy? Don't tell him.
Don't fucking tell.
No.
Okay, if you are getting reamed in your dreams, do not wake up and roll over and say, hey, honey, oh my God, so wild. I feel a bit guilty about this.
I dream fucked last night.
Obviously, we all know that dreams and your real thoughts don't have to correlate. Like, I've had sex with many people in my dreams that I would literally never have sex with in my real life. But like sometimes you can't control, your brain just goes there. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, that was weird.
I don't really sex dream a lot.
Don't you?
No, the only sex dream I've had was with a female friend.
It was me, wasn't it, Britt?
And
what would you do if you'd had a sex dream about me? Would you tell me?
I'd have to quit.
Would you tell me or would you not tell me?
I couldn't look at you though. I'd have to do the podcast looking over here at the wall.
Oh,
I would feel.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I'd feel viscerally uncomfortable if I had a dream about sex. What if you had to dream about sexing me?
Horrible, awful.
Oh, okay. I'm
Sorry.
pretty good actually. It
I
would
know,
not
I
be
know,
horrible.
I know. I have no doubt it would be like having sex
Not
with
with
my
a woman.
sister.
Though. I don't know what to do with a woman. Okay, let's go back to the question. that was a derailing that I didn't need. Let's go back to the railing.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Life Uncut. I'm Laura.
I'm Brittany, and this is Therapy Thursday.
Well, do you know what? A real spanner has been thrown in the works because normally we record on a Wednesday, but it's a Tuesday, a spicy little Tuesday, the day before Valentine's Day. So, you know, really keeping you guessing.
Do you know Valentine's Day comes around really quick? We only just spoke about it yesterday. But
to me, no. To me,
Really?
I feel like last year was the longest year of my life.
why is that?
I don't know, but when I think back of what was happening this time last year, it honestly could be another lifetime ago.
Do you think that's because you did Dancing with the Stars last year? So like you danced for like 2 months. So that changes your life.
I was training.
Yeah, you
I
were
got so
actually
fit.
training. And then
Yeah.
you never did anything again, did you?
Literally, I have not exercised since Dancing with the Stars. I did
Dude.
Dancing with the Stars and I exercised so much. I'm talking 6 hours a day. I was a rig. It was great.
You were ripped. By the time, I could see it slowly progressing over the dancing. And by the time we went to watch you dance, I was like, this looks like a supermodel. You had like a six-pack, the longest legs I've ever seen in history. You were like a daddy long legs. I'm like, how does dancing grow her legs?
No, it just lifted my ass. So my
Just like,
it removed my ass from being on the back of my knees and brought it back up. No, and then, we got a Peloton, have been doing that, but now it's kind of a bit of a close horse at the moment.
You sporadically Peloton.
Yeah.
I sporadically Peloton, but I'm trying to make it more like...
Well, no, because that was my New Year's resolution. I was like, I did the lame New Year's resolution, guys. I was like, #fitness, year of health.
Then you nearly died.
And then I got pneumonia.
Yeah.
And I was so good. For the first week of January, I was like, I'm going to be so fit. And then I fell off the bandwagon and I haven't clambered my way back on yet. So that's really quite, spiraling out of control. Soon we're going to be in December and nothing's going to have happened.
I still think you're doing okay. But I remember... I'm one of those people that's really annoying, right? Like, don't care about Valentine's Day.
Has nothing to do with Valentine's Day.
Don't like it, don't love it. But then also, yes, I want a present. Like I don't believe in Valentine's Day. But if someone was like, I would like to get you a present for Valentine's Day, I'm not going to say no, right? But if I didn't get one, it wouldn't offend me, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's a lie. I think you...
No, it wouldn't.
I think you say...
I didn't get Ben anything for Valentine's. I genuinely do not care about Valentine's Day. 1 iota, but I love getting gifts. So any day of the week you want to send me a gift, I'm never going to say no, but I will not be offended if I didn't get anything on Valentine's Day.
What if you didn't get a phone call or a card or nothing and Ben just completely steamrolled through as though it didn't exist?
I think he was dead. He calls me twice a day, every day. If he didn't call me on Valentine's Day, I'd be like, okay, he's died in his sleep or something. But last year, it made me laugh. So last year on Valentine's Day, I don't think I told you guys this, Ben and I were still pretty new. So when I say pretty new, actually, 4 months, but only like 2 months officially from when we actually knew each other. But 4 months from when we...
No, like 3 months. Like not even.
November,
you met in December.
to January. 3 months. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You always...
12 weeks. 12 weeks. But I only went over in December, New Year's. So yes, it was very fresh. It was probably only under 2 months. So it was at that point where like you're obsessed with each other and you want to impress each other all the time and like you just, whatever, you're in the honeymoon phase. And that was amplified by the fact that it was long distance. Anyway, last year on the Valentine's Day episode, we did like your worst Valentine's Day gifts. That's what we talked about in the podcast. And producer Keeshia and I were carpooling to work, and that's when we were speaking to Ben on the phone. And I said, hey, Ben, we're talking about worst Valentine's Day gifts because it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Have you ever had one? Like, I'm trying to gather some more information. Have you ever had one? And he's like, to be honest, he's like, I've never really had a Valentine's Day gift, so I guess I haven't had a bad one. And I said, have you ever given a bad one? And he was like, no, I don't think so. I think I nail it. And then he asked me, and he was like, what about you and Keish? Like, have you guys ever had bad ones, or what do you think? Keishia and I went into this rampage of what gives us the ick for a Valentine's Day present. And we were like, teddy bears. Like, Keishia hates getting a teddy bear. I was like, teddy bears, for me, it's a no. Don't give a teddy bear on Valentine's Day. You do that when you're 12 years old. I feel like we're past that. Adults don't need a teddy bear on their bed.
Teddy bears are an instant ick. I agree.
I leant in and said, it feels really infantile. Like, it makes me feel like a child. And that's a weird dynamic with someone you want to have sex with. Like, I went hard.
Yeah. So we were going hard, right? And I was like, ew, why would you do that?
I would never let a man inside me after he's given me a teddy bear.
Then I also said, the other thing I don't get, why do people send flowers in a box?
Fucking box
Dumb
flowers.
Boxed flowers. Like a box. Send them with a stem so you can put them in a vase. No one wants a big box with a bow sitting around their house.
I disagree. I think that the box, I don't want anything in a box. That's not what I'm saying. But the box protects them. I think it actually is, it's meant to be for a reason. In the post.
You want it in your box.
No, sorry.
Give
I don't
me a
mean,
box to get in my box.
No, sorry. I don't mean a box that protects roses. Like you got long stem roses that comes in a box. I mean, it's a tiny box and the stem of the flowers is like 5 centimeters, and you don't take the flowers out of the box into a vase. They just live in the box.
I know exactly
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Like
the
little box flowers.
Yes, like they're vertical standing, little white box that goes on the bottom and all the flowers are sitting. It's just like half a box. It's not a box flower.
Yeah.
They've got that like mesh stuff that you stab the stems
Yes.
into
Yes.
and they stay there.
Yes.
I don't know what that's called.
So for me, it was box flowers, right? I don't get the point.
Box
Just give me a
flowers and
stem.
teddy bears.
Yeah. And then on top of that, as a joke, it's not the end of the world, but like, sometimes roses still trigger me. Okay. Went on The Bachelor, got dumped on national TV, whatever. I still love roses, but we're just going to put that in that category. So Keishia and I are going hardcore to Ben on the phone talking about how much we have the icks of these things. And then bless his soul, he doesn't say anything. He's like, oh, interesting. And then the next day on Valentine's Day, to my house, which was already pre-ordered, turns up a box of roses in the shape of a giant teddy bear.
Shut up.
You couldn't script it. You could not script it. Everything I had said in one, and when Keishia and I are going hardcore to him in the phone, he knew that that's what he had ordered. He was like, oh my God, this girl's... And I just thought it was the funniest thing. He's like...
Stop. No, it could have been satire. He could have been like, what could I get Britt that will really trigger her?
And I felt genuinely terrible. That's why I didn't talk about it last year on the podcast, because I was like, I feel so bad. But now he and I laugh about it all the time, so I think it's funny. I was still very appreciative of the present. I just felt horrific that I was like, I just told this guy all these 3 things that I hate and he sent them to me.
You don't have to. No, he should feel sorry for that. He doesn't know you. And at 3 months or 2 months or however long it was in the relationship, it's fair. He's not supposed to know you, but he'll never make that mistake again.
Can I tell you what else happened? I convinced him that I loved it, right? I'm talking, this was hard. Dude, this was hard.
I hate it in a teddy bear. I hate roses except when it's from you.
Okay, so it's about 1/2 meter tall. It's a big rosed teddy bed box thing. It's fucking huge. I'm like,
So ugly.
clashes with everything in my house. I'm all neutral. Anyway, so I put it on the counter and I'm like,
You're like, I can't wait for them to die.
yeah. So I was like, I absolutely love it. Anyway, a week goes past and I've thrown them out. And he goes, show me the flowers. How are they going? I said, oh, babe, I'm so sorry. I just threw them out today because they died. And he goes, that's interesting. And I said, why? And he goes, oh, because they said that they preserved them for 3 months. They're flowers that are like cut and sprayed so that they don't die. And I was like,
Why
no,
would-
they definitely wilted. He's
Get
like,
your money back.
Yeah, I was like, cool.
Why would anyone want to preserve that?
Well, so
Why?
that flowers
Like, why
last-
would you want to make that trauma last for longer than it needs to?
Oh, I
we
felt-
sound okay. We sound ungrateful.
I know, that's what I'm
I-
saying.
There will be someone listening to this who's like, I would love to receive a teddy bear and some flowers, and I know, I get it. Like, but that's because you've been traumatized through life, and no one's given you enough things. That's what that is.
No, look,
You want
you
presents.
can't yuck someone's yum. Some people would get off on a teddy bear and box flowers, and that's fine. But for me, it's my undies are on with that.
Yeah.
Also, sorry to the florists who make them. I know that you've had a very, very busy day yesterday and you work very hard.
Yeah.
This is true. I have nothing against florists. It's not about them.
No, it's not the florist.
You go where the demand takes you. If people are buying teddy bears, you get the teddy bears.
People
if
are boxing.
If people want a box, you get a box. We're just saying, maybe I like a little bit more of like an organic shape to my flowers. My issue is, here we go. This is the last one, and then I'll stop with the flower bashing. I just don't like a rounded posy. I don't want like a perfectly round top of a posy. I like a little bit of an organic shape.
Yeah.
Deconstructed. Throw some, I don't know,
And
throw
some,
some
like,
natives in there.
We're very hard to please. It must be hard for them.
No.
It must be, because here we are going like, oh, this is shit and I don't like this. But it's still nice.
That saying that it's the thought that counts, I really believe that. So while it's not something that I would have picked ever in my life, in the history of my life, I still appreciated that he sent me something and thought of me. So it's like, of course, you're never going to dislike. It's like when people get an engagement ring that they hate. Like we've had so many people writing being like, I hate my engagement ring. What do I do? But obviously I love him and don't want to hurt his feelings. It's the same thing. You're like, it's the thought that you want to marry me and you went out and picked this and you love it, that you're going to have to put up with it.
No, see, my debate with this though, and I genuinely mean this as someone who makes engagement rings as a living, and I work with couples to make them. The reason why I don't agree with that is because often it's not the thought. Like they're not being thoughtful. They're picking a ring that they like, not realizing or not knowing anything about their partner's style, or even worse, we've had people come in and be like, she likes this, but I prefer this, so I'm going to pick this. And I'm like, you know what? An engagement ring isn't the time for you to flex your style muscle.
Yeah.
And that's why I think sometimes when people get it so deeply wrong, it's actually the opposite to the thought that counts. It's the thoughtless present that makes you feel as though your partner doesn't know you.
I feel like if it's the wrong colour medal, that's really a red flag. If they're down on one knee and you wear gold and they've got white gold, or the reverse, that would be a little bit of a question mark.
I don't know.
Diamond.
I still stick by this. I think sometimes you don't have to be grateful for every single gift that you get given if it is a thoughtless gift. That's all. And I'm not saying that you should be ungrateful for being thought of, but sometimes it's the lack of thought. It's the, like we said on Tuesday's episode, it's the people buying flowers at 4 p.m. on Valentine's Day, and it's like whatever's left over at Woolies, like that's not a thoughtful gift. Just give nothing in that case. Speaking from the person who gave nothing this year. So
Or ever.
Anyway, let's do our vibes and unsubscribes. Britt, what have you been vibing this week?
So my vibe this week is a Netflix show, but it's also has been made into a book and it is a true story, and I've also listened to podcasts on it. Now, I listened to podcasts on it a long time ago, and I know I recommend the old like podcast crossover to Netflix a lot, but I genuinely enjoy a show once I know a story better, and I love to see it. Now, it's called Society of the Snow. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. It is absolutely brilliant. It is about, I don't know if you remember hearing this, it is about the plane crash in the Andes Mountains in 1972 that had 20, 30 people on it. They were all school-age kids and had some teachers. Now, this is a true story, obviously. It crashed into the Andes Mountains, and it's the story of survival in literally the harshest, coldest, most horrific conditions. So some of them died straight away, and about 16 of them survived, and nobody could find them for a ridiculously long time, and they ended up having to eat each other.
I remember this story. This is so awful.
Yeah. So they've made it into a show that was brilliantly done. So Society of the Snow, the way it tells the story, I think they did it in a really respectful way. Like when you think about it, people lost their lives and their friends really did eat them to survive. It's a horrific story, but I think that the way that this was filmed and directed and produced did a really, really good job. For something that was pretty horrific, I thought it was done pretty tactfully. Producer Keish, what do you got this week?
So on Sunday night, I went to the basketball to see the Hawks play the Kings, and I sent you guys a photo while I was there of someone that I was lucky enough to meet. And neither of you knew who he was.
Well, I knew he was a basketballer because he's about 8 feet tall.
He's literally 7'2".
I knew he was a basketballer, but I didn't know who he was. But I wrote, what? And then I was like, that covers everything. That covers what? I don't know who this is. And also like, what? That's crazy. And I was like, just let that one go.
So we were sitting in the second row, and all of a sudden this really tall person sat down in front of me, and I'm only 5'2". He's literally 7'2". So I couldn't see much. And initially I was like, oh, like now I can't see the game. And it took me about 3 seconds until I was like, wait a second, holy shit, is that Luke Longley? And I'm like nudging my friend Soph next to me, and I was like, is that Luke Longley? And I started getting really, really excited. And the reason that I was so excited is
because Keeshia really likes tall men. Which
She likes basketball.
She likes men who are disproportionately large to her. That's actually, yeah, there you go.
She likes to be at the height of their dick. She's like, you have to be 7 foot plus because I'm 5.
Oh my days. So remember back in 2020 when The Last Dance went huge on Netflix? It was all about the Chicago Bulls and it focused a lot on Michael Jordan. So there was another player in that team who was quite behind the scenes, but you know the people behind the scenes that are actually very, very impactful to the success of any team? Luke was one of those people. So he played throughout the 90s. He was there for their 3 consecutive championships. He was their starting centre, so he was one of the main players. And he grew up in Fremantle in Western Australia. In the Netflix docu-series of The Last Dance, he wasn't featured. You can see him in little cutaway shots. And as it turns out, there were quite a few people that were a little bit miffed about this. And I think Luke may have even been quite personally disappointed that he wasn't included in the docuseries or anything about him wasn't really a part of it. So Australian Story, the ABC program that do docuseries on really impactful Australians, did this 2-part series on him in 2022. And I had seen it, and it's called Luke Longley, One Giant Leap. Part 1 is 32 minutes and part 2 is 34 minutes, so it's not very long. But what was quite interesting about it is that they got interviews from both Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Australian Story don't pay anyone to come on the program. And we're talking about Michael Jordan. Like, this guy doesn't do anything for less than like $100 million. Like, he's worth a lot of money. And he gave a 30-minute interview for free to the Australian broadcaster for Australian Story because I think he felt a little bit disappointed and a little bit guilty about the fact that Luke wasn't honoured and recognised in The Last Dance. And a lot of people said that that particular interview of Michael Jordan was like the best one that he ever did. He was asked the question of why did you do this interview? And basically it's asking why did you do this for free?
He matters to me. And I'm pretty sure I can enlighten it from my perspective and give people his meaningfulness to me. You know, as a teammate, as a competitor, we went through the trenches. You know, I would take him any day of the week if I had to go through a competition again. If you asked me to do it all over again, there's no way I would leave Luke Longley off my team. No way possible, because he mattered.
So yeah, my recommendation for this week is the 2-part series on ABC iView, which is the app. I checked last night. It is still available. It is really, really good. It shows how Luke was such a different player. He was the first Australian to ever play in the NBA. He wasn't this really competitive, gritty person. He's quite a calm and collected and warm person, and he still is that person. I mean, I met him on Sunday for the first time, and I just thought he was such a lovely man, a real gentle giant. And that was in massive contrast to how Michael Jordan wanted the team to operate. So they didn't always get on. They didn't always see eye to eye. And so if you liked The Last Dance and you want to know about the Australian who contributed to it, it's on YouTube and it's on ABC iView.
Cool. All right. Well, I have another thing for you to watch. So you guys are getting a lot of TV time. Like, everyone, doctor your screen time this week. I watched the new documentary that's out on Netflix. It is called Lover, Stalker, Killer. It is fucking brilliant. So it's all around a man in the States who was stalked by a lover. It goes over many years. It's so thrilling, and there are so many aspects to this. And I think you don't ever really hear about female stalkers because statistically it is not as common, but this had such a profound impact on his life. And obviously, as you can tell from the title, Lover, Stalker, Killer, you are left questioning throughout the series as to whether there is or isn't a murder involved. And when I say series, it's actually just one episode. It's a fascinating story. It really had us on the edge of our seats. And I just put it on because it was like there. I was like, oh, that's the next thing Netflix is recommending.
It's trending.
Totally. And did not expect to be as absolutely hooked as what I was. It is brilliant. And I would say put that at the very top of your list if you're, wanting to watch something this week, because it has just come out and fucking wild.
It is on my list because I've seen it, keeps recommending it to me.
It's
I'm
wild.
like, I'll watch that next.
It also, I think in terms of what I found fascinating about this is like, sometimes you think about stalkers and you think surely that they would lose steam, right? Like surely over time, something more important would come up in their life. And I think for me, the thing that I just couldn't, it was almost unbelievable, was the layers and the levels to which this person went to over so many years. Like it had become their fixation to ruin his life. It's a very, very sad story, but it's so incredibly well done, the storytelling of it.
Question number 1. Last night I had a dream about another guy. Nothing particularly scandalous happened, but I felt guilty, so I told my boyfriend about it. It upset him quite a bit. Is he overreacting, or is it better to not tell your partner about a dream involving another guy? Don't tell him.
Don't fucking tell. Okay, if you are getting reamed in your dreams, do not wake up and roll over and say, hey, honey, oh my God, so wild. I feel a bit guilty about this, but I was,
I dream fucked last night.
I was fucking David in my sleep last night. Don't tell someone that, because all that does is it breeds insecurities that maybe you're thinking about them in real life, which obviously we all know that dreams and your real thoughts don't have to correlate. Like, I've had sex with many people in my dreams that I would literally never have sex with in my real life. But like sometimes you can't control, your brain just goes there. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, that was weird. Do I have a crush on them? No, I don't. Oh, thank God.
I don't really sex dream a lot.
Don't you?
No. And it's funny, the only sex dream I've had was with a female friend ages ago.
It was
and
me, wasn't it, Britt?
And I woke up feeling so awkward. And I hadn't even seen that friend in a while. So dreams are weird. But
what would you do if you'd had a sex dream about me? Would you tell me?
I'd have to quit.
Would you tell me or would you not tell me?
I couldn't look at you though. I'd have to do the podcast looking over here at the wall.
I mean, we've spoken about my labia so much on the last episode.
I'm
surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I'd feel viscerally uncomfortable if I had a dream about sex. What if you had to dream about sexing me?
Horrible, awful.
Oh, okay. I'm
Sorry.
pretty good actually. It
I
would
know.
not be horrible.
I have no doubt. But it would
I know
be like,
what I'm doing in the sack, Laura.
it would be like having sex
Not
with
with
my
a woman.
sister.
Though. I don't know what to do with a woman.
No, it would be like having a dream about my sister.
Yeah.
If it was you.
Okay, let's go back to the question. that was a derailing that I didn't need. Let's go back to the railing. Okay. So you got railed in your dream. No, actually, I don't even know if she did, Laws, because she says nothing particularly scandalous happened. So I reckon maybe she was just like flirting with the guy or something. Like, it doesn't sound like she got railed. So I'm wondering if she's just said, oh my God, like old mate was in my dream last night and he happens to know him. But what are you going to gain from that? Because it's your boyfriend is going to sit there and think, cool, she's going to bed. And we know that this isn't how it works, but he's going to think she's going to bed thinking about someone else. She's dreaming about someone else. And now she's telling me about someone else. Is there something going on?
We do this sometimes in relationships where we feel something. And like, remember, feelings are not always fact. Like, you're going to feel many things. You wake up feeling guilty or you feel stressed or you feel upset about something. And what we can sometimes do is impart that feeling because we want to get rid of it, right? We don't want to keep that feeling anymore. So then we give it to our partners. You said exactly that. You woke up feeling guilty. And so therefore you wanted to be honest with your partner. Firstly, you have nothing to feel guilty for when it's a dream. But by passing that on, your partner is going to have a reaction to it, right? Like he's going to have some sort of feeling towards the fact that you felt guilty, you shared this information, and his feeling is like he feels insecure or it feels weird that you thought that that was necessary to tell him. So I don't think his feelings are an overreaction. I think you needing to tell him everything that you think or dream is an overreaction. And I think that all that does is it creates insecurities when insecurities don't need to be there.
But I also believe that you shouldn't feel guilty for what you dream.
But totally.
You're unconscious. Like you are unconscious, and sometimes you dream things in situations you've never even been in or people you've never even had anything to do with. You cannot control that. I think just roll with it. Wake up and be like, that was fun.
That was wild. I agree with you, Britt, but that's what I mean by it creates a bigger situation. Imagine if Ben woke up, and I think like anyone put themselves in that position. Imagine if your partner woke up and said, oh my God, I had a really intense sex dream about XYZ. All that's going to do is put a thought in your head that makes you feel insecure, which it doesn't need to be there because you and I and everyone knows that dreams are not real. But like, it's the same thing. I mean, fuck, I take it out on Matt. If I have like a dream where he's cheated on me, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, Dream Matt sucked last night. And he goes, oh God, what did I do? And I'm like, Dream Matt he was a naughty boy and he did this, and this. But it doesn't actually impact our real life. And I think those things are very weird.
See, if that happened, that situation, and Ben woke up and was like, hey, had sex with this chick in my dream last night, crazy, I wouldn't be upset that he had sex with someone in his dream. I'd be upset that he told me. So
100%.
I don't get jealous of people's dreams. Like there's nothing positive that I can do with that information. Keep your dream sex to yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah. Have all the sex you want in your dream, bro. I don't care.
Don't pass your feeling of guilt onto me. Don't pass your whatever feelings you have when you wake up the next day. I don't need to know about it.
100%.
Just go to sleep the next day and start again.
Yeah. Use protection.
Question number 2. My partner and I are in our 30s and have been together for 5 years and living together for the past 3. In the last year and a half, he has had some significant family troubles that's taken a toll on his mental health, and he is most likely depressed and working on ways to improve this. He has found himself thinking about his ex-girlfriend and wonders if a life with her might have been happier. He also has been feeling unfulfilled and having thoughts and uncertainties about his current career that used to give him a lot of purpose. They have not been in contact at all since they broke up, and he doesn't plan on reaching out to her. He tells me he loves me and wants to keep working on this relationship. I guess I'm having trouble figuring out if his current thought processes and considering of his past relationship is simply a reflection of his mental state / potential depression, and if it's something that will get better with time, or if this has more to do with our relationship.
I don't like this at all. And I know that she's preloaded it with he's had a tough time with his family, he's got mental health issues, but I don't think that is an excuse to go to your partner and say, I think about my ex and wonder if I'm happier with her. That's not cool at all. And I don't care what the situation is. It's only cool if you are then going to follow it up with, I don't think we should be together. Like if you are thinking about your ex more than your current partner, enough that you go to your partner and tell them, I wonder if I'm happier with somebody I was with before you. What do you think is going to happen in your relationship? What do you think your partner is going to think? What's the point? What's the purpose? Unless you're going to make a decision to say, I need to go and find
him necessarily intentionally meaning to do it, but you're manipulated it into feeling sorry for him in so many ways. And I guess part of this that I really think that we should recognize is that depression presents itself in many ways. And I don't think that we can just completely gloss over and be like, oh my God, he's an asshole, he's this. He very well may be going through depression, and he very well may be going through a challenging mental state in terms of whatever's happened in his family. You haven't gone into details. Now, when you are in that phase of life, you can sometimes lack empathy for how the things that you say will impact other people. That's a very real thing because you don't feel anything yourself. So you don't feel anything about the way in which other people feel around the things that you do and say too. That could be a possibility. But it doesn't mean that you need to be in a relationship where someone is cruel with the things that they say, even if depression is a participating factor. And I think ultimately the way in which he's set up this conversation of being like, well, I wonder if I would have been happier, but I'm going to stay and not do anything about it, it makes you feel as though you're second best. And, you know, things may get better in time if he's going and getting treatment, or it may not. But I guess the big questions I would be asking myself in this is, what is he doing? What is he actually doing on a day-to-day or a week-to-week to try and improve his mental health, to try and overcome this depression that he's feeling? Is he going to a therapist? Has he been medicated? You know, what are the solutions that he has? And does he recognize that there's a problem? Because there's a very big difference between being made to feel as though the depression is what's causing this, or being made to feel as though you are the problem. The relationship is the problem. It could be the case that the only way for him to find out whether the relationship is the problem is by not having it anymore. And if all of these feelings are still there when you're not there, well, that's going to be a real indicator that actually it wasn't the relationship, it was him and the things that he was experiencing. But it's not your job to convince someone that the relationship you have now will be better than the one that he could have had with his ex.
Totally. And I'm 100% not taking anything away from the feeling of depression. I've been in that position before, and I know a lot of other people that have as well. But when you are in that position, yes, you should be trying to get help for yourself when you can. And it sounds like he's doing that, which is wonderful. But if you are in a relationship that you think is your forever, you know, this is why they say for better or for worse. When you're in that low, you should be leaning on your partner that you love, and maybe you're putting an unnecessary level of pressure on them because you're in a bad place. But I do think that's what a relationship's for. There are going to be times in a relationship where one person has to show up 80% of the time because one only has the capacity for 20, knowing that in the future that will flip and you're allowed to have your 20% and they'll have the 80 and they'll show up for you. But in this situation, that's not happening. Obviously, there are a lot of other problems that he's experiencing in the relationship and he's not able to show up in a lot of ways, but he's also not relying on you and bringing it together. He's actually making it worse. He's saying, I'm thinking of someone else in my lowest time. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like the person when I should be thinking, how am I going to get through this for you, with you, together? What can we do? How can I lean on you? It's not. He's gone to somebody else. And I think that's where the problem lies.
Well, the reason why he's doing that, though, is because often when you're in a low state, you think about times when you were happy. And maybe he attributes a happy time in his life to 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and that was a time when he was with his ex. It's not that his ex made him happy. It's just that he didn't have all these other contributing factors that you are now dealing with in your relationship because of whatever else has happened that's influenced him. But I think my big thing about this, and I want to tread carefully because I know that depression is such a sensitive topic for anyone who has been the partner alongside someone with depression or the person who has had it themselves. It is not as simple as being a get out of jail free card. It doesn't mean that you can treat anyone the way that you want to treat them because you have depression. However, sometimes that is the byproduct because it is hard to have empathy when you are already in such a dark place yourself. It's hard to care about other people's feelings when you don't feel anything. So I'm not saying he's being intentionally cruel, but the things he's saying are cruel things to say and they will impact your relationship. Even if you are the most supportive, loving, stable, all of those things, it still has an impact on you. And that's okay as well. The only thing that I would say is the fact that it is affecting his work. He's not showing up to his work that used to give him a lot of purpose with any sort of joy. He's not showing up to your relationship with joy. That to me says these are pretty clear indicators of depression and he needs to be taking some responsibility and doing something about it. So I guess it's up to you to kind of look at the relationship from an aerial perspective and go, what can I forgive as being not his behavior, but something that's happening to him? What is it that he's saying that's very different to how he normally would be? But also, what is he doing to try and improve this situation? And if he is doing lots of things and you guys are working together, then I would say give it time. If he's not doing anything, if he's blaming you, if he's not taking responsibility and nothing's changing, then I would say you're in a position where nothing will change. And so I wouldn't be giving it the time or the energy.
What I do recommend is sitting down and actually having a conversation with him about why. Try to get there for him. Say, okay, I'm not going to lie, this doesn't make me feel very good.
Yeah,
to know that to know that you're thinking about her. Like, why did you feel the need to tell me? Because you're at the point where you want me to know. So we have the conversation so that you can potentially leave. Go a little bit deeper. Why do you think you're thinking about her? Do you think it's just because you feel so down in your life right now that you are grasping for past happier times? Do you think you're thinking about it because you're unhappy in this relationship? Is that a direct byproduct of the fact that you're feeling down, or are you genuinely unhappy in this relationship? Why are you unhappy in this relationship? I think just a really honest conversation to get to the bottom of it, because maybe he hasn't figured that out for himself either.
Yeah.
It can be really overwhelming when you're having conflicting thoughts, confusing thoughts, especially in a relationship. He's voiced them for a reason. Whatever that reason is, I don't know, but he's voiced them for a reason. So maybe he does want to have that conversation, and maybe that is something you can get to the bottom of it together. You have been together for 5 years, so you are going to have hard conversations. It doesn't mean he necessarily wants to leave and you could get back to being better than ever, but you need to just have a really open communication. Yeah. It's so lame to always be like, communicate, but it's definitely the foundation of every relationship. If you don't completely understand why, you can't make a rational decision.
Yeah, but also it goes back to what we said in the first question though. And I think sometimes people trauma dump. He's had thoughts and feelings and he is sad and feels a certain way. And so he was like, well, I'm going to tell you, I've been thinking these things. what are you meant to do with that information? That information is so damaging to how you feel in your relationship. It's so damaging to your feelings of respect, stability, reassurance, all the things that you need to feel secure in your relationship. It has undone all of that. And so I think you are completely entitled to feel the way that you feel. And I think it is important to really understand how much support can you give someone and where does your personal boundary lie, because there's only so long that a relationship can be one-sided, and that does, and it's so challenging to say this, but that does play into effect when it comes to mental health, because you cannot be in a relationship where you're made to feel as though you are second choice.
Yeah. Question number 3. My boyfriend is a corporate king with a very healthy salary. I'm talking 500K plus. Although whenever he does the groceries, he walks out and never pays. Or sometimes he'll only pay for part. I'm not talking about where you put like a capsicum through and say it's an apple. I'm talking meat, veggies, yogurt, pasta, the full shop, substantial items. He just walks out.
He just walks straight through self-serve.
Yep. This does not sit well with me. The point is, he's not struggling financially. He does it because no one's watching, and why would I have to pay for it if I don't have to? I think he also likes the rush that he gets from it. He has very strong morals. Lol. He has very strong morals and values everywhere, and this can be seen a little off-brand with the rest of his character. I've brought it up and said I don't like it, but he doesn't see it as a big deal. I'm worried he'll get caught. I think it's bad juju. Lol. And I also don't want his young children to see this behavior and think that it's right. Thoughts and opinions. What a dick knob.
What a loser.
What a loser.
Okay, it's very okay. I have many feelings about this, but the thing that
Sorry, I'm
stands
sure
out
he's a
to
great
me-
guy in every other
No, he's
aspect.
a loser. Okay, this is the biggest ick. Imagine being in a relationship with someone who earns $500,000 a year and he's got to steal yogurt
That
for
is
a
like
rush.
the top 1% of incomes in
He's a loser.
Australia.
The thing I hate about this is that if he was homeless, if he was impoverished, if he was somebody who needed to steal from a shop to be able to get by, he wouldn't be able to do it because he would walk in there and people would be like, what's that person doing? I'm going to keep an eye on them. The reason why he's able to do it and get away with it so seamlessly is because he looks like someone who wouldn't do it. He looks like someone who has everything that they need because he does have everything that he needs because he earns $500,000 a year. And so he's able to just cruise on by and doesn't get questioned. It's embarrassing that is where he gets a rush from. And for me, I look, on the scale of massive crimes, does it sit that highly? No, it's just a huge ick though. Like, to be dating a guy who can't pay for yogurt because he enjoys getting away with something that is seemingly a bit naughty.
But it's not yogurt, it's an entire shop. Is he just wheeling? What's he doing? Putting the shop, just wheeling the whole shopping cart out the door and just being like, thanks, and walking off? Like, is it the confidence? For me, morals is such a huge part of a relationship, and this would be I couldn't date him. I could not date somebody that was putting a whole shopping cart of food in and walking out when you know you have money. You also have kids that are looking up to you. Like, are you doing the shopping with your kids?
I think the other part of though is like, it says a lot about, when you say he's actually got great morals in other areas, it says a lot about the type of person when people do things because they can get away with it. I actually think that that's a real indicator of pretty shitty morals. And I kind of liken it to people who talk badly to wait staff or, speak to people who they think are below them. And it's like, if you think you can get away with something, so therefore you do it, then that doesn't actually mean that you have very good morals. It means the only reason why you don't do things is because you think you'll get caught.
Yeah.
And I think that that's not the litmus for the type of relationship I'd be in. Like, that to me, I'd be like, okay, well, and I know it's a big stretch, but I'm like, well, would you just cheat if you thought you couldn't get caught? Like, what are the other things that you would do in this relation? And maybe that is a stretch, but like, what are the other things that you would do in your character because you know you can get away with it?
At the end of the day, it's a boundary for you. What are you okay with? And because we're not going to tell you to break up with him, we're not going to tell you to stay. We can't tell you that, but you have to decide within yourself, what is a boundary you're okay with, and is this crossing it? Like, is he going to walk into an appliance store and walk out with a washing machine? Like, what's next? Where's the end?
No, the thing that's annoying about this situation is like, he probably will get caught one day. They probably will an instance where he walks out and doesn't pay for something, but he'll just be able to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How embarrassing. I forgot. And get away with it because of the situation, the way in which he's going about it, and also because of how he would dress and present and all those things. he would be able to play that off and get away with it, which is so infuriating because he's not going to learn the lesson. And I say this as someone, this is embarrassing, but like the other day I had both kids in the pram. I put through a whole trolley of food and then I was like, well, that's me done, and went to walk out. And the guy was like, you haven't put your card through. And I just was distracted with the kids. And I was like,
God,
oh my God.
Laura, you're this guy.
I was like, how embarrassing. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But he knew. He was standing there and he saw my kids trying to like open food and get stuff out. But that's exactly what someone could do if they weren't being genuine to be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, like, yes, it's not this huge moral thing. He's stealing a few things from Woolworths. At the end of the day, like,
it is gross. It's a whole shopping cart.
Yes, but I'm saying it's just embarrassing. I understand why it's something that you're like, this doesn't sit right with me. I think it goes beyond bad juju. It just kind of shows the type of person that he is.
Totally.
Which is gross.
Ew.
Anyway, guys, that is it from us for Ask Uncut. If you have a question for next week, slide into the DMs at Life Uncut Podcast. Send in your question. We love the juicy, saucy, sexy, crazy ones. And we'll do our best to answer them. And if you want, you can follow us on Instagram, or you can also join the discussion group at Life Uncut Discussion Group to get amongst the conversation.
Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your friends, and share the love because
We love love!